The Oracle of Luna is a podcast with me, Bridget Engels, as your host. Here we have conversations with real live, present-day goddesses who are actively and courageously doing their magical work in the world. Each episode is a bewitching journey with relevant discussions on topics such as Wiccan pagan spirituality, writing, culture, magical practices, art, ritual, and the craft in its many forms.
Merry meet! Welcome to another episode of the Oracle of Luna podcast. I'm Bridget Engels, your host, and today I'm delighted to chat with Enid Baxter Ryce. Enid is an award-winning author, artist, and professor whose work spans books, film, visual art, and education advocacy. Her books include Plant Magic at Home, Grace Flows Through You, Field Guide to Fort Ord, and her latest book, Ancient Spells and Incantations, Echoes of Magic Through the Ages and Across Cultures by Red Wheel Weiser Books, due out in April. She has exhibited at museums internationally, including the National Gallery of Art, the Getty, and the Arnolfini. She is a curator for the Philip Glass Center for Art, Science, and the Environment. She is a professor of cinematic arts and technology at CSU Monterey Bay. And as a descendant of 3 Salem witches, Enid embodies a long family history of natural magical practices. Welcome, Enid.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. How's it going today?
Today is going well. It's really beautiful out, and we did the thing where we go to the store early on Saturday morning, suddenly realizing that there are multiple kids' birthday parties to show up at, and we need some stuff to give them. So,
Yay,
yeah,
celebration mode. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, we've got a lot to unpack here. So, are you ready to get rolling?
I am.
Okay. And I just want to mention to our listeners that Enid is going to give us a few of her spells and incantations at the very end of the episode. So, stay tuned. All righty. So, Enid, I always start out with my guests talking about their early beginnings. How did your spiritual journey begin? And what did that look like for you?
Well, I grew up in the middle of the woods
Oh,
to a Irish and Scottish mother and Jewish father, who both had sort of abandoned their faith traditions and were pretty isolated out there in the woods.
huh.
I began my spiritual journey really by being alone outside with the trees and in nature. And I could feel and sense as a child the mystery and the connection with the beautiful world and the other world too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of the country did you grow up in?
I grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania in a
Mm.
town called Washington's Crossing. It's a town that's in New Jersey also, and it's where George Washington crossed the Delaware to fight the Battle of Trenton.
Wow, that's historic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of my guests, and including myself, started out not really knowing what the word witch meant, but spent a lot of time in nature and
Yeah.
talking to trees and animals and just, yeah, it's very common. So, when did you become aware that you had artistic abilities?
I think that was well, I took a crafts class. I don't know if I'm saying that very well, but like, it was like, oh, you can paint chickens on these boxes, that are hearts and, give them out for holidays. And I started copying like Picasso paintings and
Nice.
other stuff. So the teacher said, I think you should take art. So, and from there, I was enrolled in a program at Moore College of Art and Design, and it was for girls who were unlikely to go to college. Like I was at risk, and so I would get up in the morning and take a train and watch the sunrise on the train on Saturdays and take two long college art classes and then ride home on the train as the sun set. And that helped me get my scholarship to college and set me on that path. So I'm always grateful for that.
Sounds like you're pretty disciplined.
Yeah, I was also working full time at a restaurant after school from 3:30 to 11:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Busy. That's great though. I mean, I love that you're self-determined and we're self-determined to get your art background and studies in. That's awesome.
It just felt like a place I could go where I felt like I belonged more than I did.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
also, it was the thing that I love doing that when I do it, I lose track of time. And that's something to pay attention to, when you find those things, they're part of your path.
Hmm. Yes, and that allowed your intuition to come alive.
Yeah, definitely. It also got me out of the woods.
Yeah. Right. With and around other people, probably
Yeah,
like-minded people too.
yeah, yeah.
So who's influenced you the most on your spiritual magical path? I saw that you were a descendant of three Salem witches. Do you want to expand on that and maybe talk
Sure.
about that a little bit more and also maybe some mentors?
Yeah. So definitely growing up, the although the, religious or tribal connections were not surfaced by my parents, there was still the hidden practitioner, herbalism, and awareness of how to use plants to change the way you feel, right? So, my mother taught me a lot of herbal medicine that really probably goes all the way back to some of those Salem ancestors who um, I've since my mother passed away in 2019, I've been doing a lot of research around ancestors and who went where when.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that I'm descended from George Jacobs Sr. and George Jacobs Jr. and Margaret Jacobs, who, if you're familiar with the Salem witch trials, George Jacobs was convicted after he was heard joking about the girls who were wildly convicting everyone. And he called them the witch bitches. And I thought, oh, that sounds like the Baxter family, which is the family that comes from them. And the more I began to research him, I remember talking to my father and saying, um, this most of our family is, I'm first generation American on my dad's side. Most of our family hasn't been here that long. I was like, wow, these guys were here a long time. He said, yeah, I don't know. They were like pilgrims or something, but they weren't Puritans. I don't know what they were. And so I, you know, really have been reading a lot about him. And one of the things when he was convicted, he was like almost 85 years old. And this is like 1692. So that's pretty old. And he refused to save himself by confessing.
Oh, I think
Um,
I might have heard about him.
yeah, and several of them did. And
Yeah.
and he was hung and executed. His son ran away, George Jacobs Jr. He doesn't seem like a very nice guy. And then his granddaughter, Margaret Jacobs, who was George's daughter, she had been living with her grandfather. Well, when her grandfather was accused, the girls wanted to enlist Margaret Jacobs in that accusation, and she resisted, and then they accused her. And basically the deal was you either accuse your
Yeah.
grandfather or you also die as a witch. Now, I began to research like where did George Jacobs come from? And my assumption was that he was a Jacobite. He was one of those
Oh, right. And from Scotland.
from Scotland, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, because there's a lot of Scottish people in that family, and actually found out he was descended from George Jacob, who was a listed as a barber, which is a healer, right? Back
Mm.
then,
Hmm.
and that George Jacobs, who was executed at the Salem witch trials, during his trial, the big damning piece of evidence was he could not recite the Lord's Prayer. And
Oh,
he was actually the last um, converso to be baptized at this place called the Domus Conversorium in England, which was a place that they would put Jewish men, um, and the men had to give up all their possessions and work at a prescribed job, and often that job was barber healer. And then they had to take on, Christian culture and abandon their original culture. And
interesting.
so George Jacobs was the last person to be baptized there, and his ancestor was someone from the Barbary Coast named Yaqub, who came to Britain, probably fleeing one thing or another. And
Wow,
so so that connects.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such an, and that's a brand new fact. Me and my friend, who's a medievalist, are working on a paper about it because that's never really
Cool.
been told. But what's so interesting about Margaret Jacobs is she is in prison. It's like terrible. The Salem prison is like you're shackled, you're starving, you're freezing, it's miserable. And she decides she can't live with herself. She has to like recant her confession, and she begs her grandfather for forgiveness, and he forgives her, and she just is like knows that this is a death sentence, and she says I can't live with myself if I don't confess.
Mm.
And
Very
every
interesting. So,
yeah,
your mom, getting back to your mom, so your mom taught you a lot about herbalism and green magic. Is
yeah.
that's something that a long tradition in your family? So I think that's really cool because it ties in with some of your books, right?
Right. So, I actually wrote Plant Magic at Home is my latest book that came out in July. And it has all of that knowledge that my mom taught me how to make everything from food to medicine to like historic magic spells to paints and dyes. I used to collect plants. My mother liked to weave, and we would dye the wool that was like, sheared from
Yeah,
sheep and
sure.
carded, and yeah.
Yeah.
And so as I was researching that book, and I, also include that book is pretty universal. There's stuff from all over the world in it and many different traditions. And as I was researching it, I kept finding these amazing magical incantations, and I started collecting them. And then I realized that that was going to be my next book, and that's what this
Ah,
book is. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I want to get to that. So tell us a little bit about your newest book, Ancient Spells and Incantations, Echoes of Magic Through the Ages and Across Cultures. And what inspired you to write it? And how does the reader work with your book? I mean, you've mentioned that it's kind of evolved from the plant magic book. Can you kind of expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what happens with these incantations, a lot of them are lost. A lot of them are in university libraries or in archives that it's hard to get access to if you don't have a university professor ID card. And often they are written about in a very academic way, with very literal translation and, in a kind of language that's a little hard to understand in the service of a greater sociological argument. I wanted to make a fun magic spells book
Yeah.
with this material. So, I wrote the university librarians and said, hey guys, things are going to get weird, but here's what we're going to do. And they, were so adventurous. And so we really just started tracking down texts from all over the world. And now that a lot of archives are digitized, it does make it much easier to do
Yeah.
this kind of research. But still, I was getting books that, no one had looked at in a really long time. And, they come
Mm.
in this box and they put them in a locker for me. And so I
Ooh.
go, like, I get the email from the locker, it's like ready for you. And I go and, take this pile of
Probably have
books
to wear
home.
gloves too, huh?
Usually with books you don't, because
Mm.
it's important to feel the paper. Otherwise, you
Oh,
kind of rip
right.
the paper. But
Oh,
I got one of those stands, that you use so you don't crack the binding. And it was very dark
oh.
academia. It was
Oh,
so
that's
fun.
so great. That sounds fun.
fun. And then
So
a lot of
what were the purpose of these spells and incantations throughout history and cultures? I mean, to connect to the mystery, right? And to the other world, right? Or ask for assistance in some way?
yeah, what you get from reading these, and I think it's the most beautiful thing about the book, the collection, is it reveals how universal human beings' vulnerabilities are across time and across cultures. Everybody wants love or experiences lust.
Mm.
Everyone wants gets angry and envious and wants vengeance. Everybody's would like protection,
Hmm.
and people would like, to make things happen.
So
So
it connects to humanity in so many
totally,
ways. Yeah.
yeah. So across the board, you see such similar questions and needs expressed. And it's, from the little things like how to get everyone at your party dancing to, there's the Pella tablet from ancient Rome where it seems like the caster is obsessed with a certain guy and really doesn't want him to marry this other woman. And she writes this very long spell forbidding that to happen. So it's really fun stuff, and it makes you realize just how what we all have in common. The spells read like poetry to me. They're
Yeah.
so similar because like poetry uses everyday words and puts them in different order so that we suddenly perceive those words in a new and beautiful way. And the spells work the same way. Um, and it's just so fun to find them, but a lot of them I found them in witch trial transcripts. That's where they're written down.
Oh.
Or this one monk who was kind of a tattletale, and he would write back to the Pope telling on all the, what people were doing in Mexico, spells in Nahuatl. Um, though that his records become this great resource for people researching that period. So it's
Hmm.
like snitches get witches.
Hmm.
Was
Well,
what
I mean, a lot of the things that were written down through the lens of Christianity.
For sure. I mean, they were written down punitively. So,
Yeah.
it's harder to find the spells that are, to get everyone at your party dancing than it is to find spells that, make this practice seem sinister and evil and fit into the
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah. Darker
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that's so interesting. Uncovering sacred ancient uh spells and in bringing them into the modern light of day, right? It's very
Right. Yeah.
That's a huge task. I just think that's really fantastic.
It was very, very fun and very intensive. Actually, right before I got on with you, I opened the folder. I saw how much is in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot how much work this was. But the result is that it's fun. And the thing I wanted to say about how to work with it is it's not just a poetry book or a academic book. It's written in really plain language. And it also has an appendix on like how to start your own magical practice. So it's good, and it's for the everyday fun-loving, witch or someone who is a lover of ancient texts and poems.
Yeah, and
Either,
can appreciate them.
yeah,
And I also noticed that your artwork and illustrations were appearing in the
yeah.
book, which is beautiful. I loved it. You want to talk a little bit about how you were inspired to paint or draw for your book?
Yeah, I had so much fun illustrating this book, and I was so lucky to work with the team at Red Wheel Weiser. They were so supportive and encouraging and had a really great vision. The design of the book is beautiful, which I had nothing to do with. So there's three kinds of illustrations in the book, and they're all black and white. The one kind is these, like I would see photographs of the, stones or parchment or objects or however the spells were written. And I illustrated I drew those. So those are the illustrations. So you can actually see, what the tablet looks like of the, very, very
Mhm.
jealous woman in ancient Rome.
Mhm.
And then the second kind of was I did some kind of I do little writing spells, and they're really fun. I paint them in water and then I drop pigment onto them. So they originally exist in
Oh,
indigo,
cool.
which I grow in my garden, and that's what the cover is painted with. And
Oh.
then the third kind is I wet paper and drop ink onto the paper and then let it kind of dry and see what shapes emerge. And those
Mm-hmm.
are, I was calling those the ghosties. You can see them throughout. Those are the kind of mystical
Mm-hmm.
figures. So they were done using a very
Okay.
kind of magical, uh,
Approach. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
See, and you're weaving your magic into your art, which is beautiful. And for our listeners, the book is gorgeous and has a lot of great incantations and spells, but also the artwork stands out. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, I was wondering what the media, it looked like watercolor, but now that I know the process, it's even more
Yeah,
magical.
I used for the ones that weren't painted in indigo, so that's how the cover is that deep blue. I
Yeah.
used oak gall ink, which has been in use since at least medieval times. The Constitution of the United States is written with it.
Oak gall. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I collect,
Historical.
I have drawers of oak galls in my house. And it makes the best ink. It makes this kind of purpley black ink. Um, it's really cool.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite spell or incantation?
Oh, I don't have a favorite child and I don't have a
Yeah.
favorite spell, but
Or one of your favorite.
I
Maybe you
did.
could read it at the end for us.
Yeah, I actually picked out one for you
Okay,
that's
good.
from Scotland, and it's to the rune to revere the new moon, because this
Oh,
is the
nice.
Oracle of Luna.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait. What are your plans for the future? I mean, your book's coming out. Do you have any other future plans like events, classes, workshops, or?
Yeah, so I do a lot of like plant and outdoor education workshops for readers, and I'm really excited. I applied for maybe doing a fellowship at a botanical garden so I can learn
Yeah.
that has a rare books collection. So look out, man, plants
Yeah.
and books. And then the big thing that's happening for me this month is I'm taking a lot of archival materials from my family, which I have been writing about on my Substack, which is called Book of Trees. Um, and I'm bringing them to an actual archive in New York City. And it's been really emotional and fascinating. And, these things go back to, oh, I guess the late 1800s. And so that's been a
Hmm.
big project.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really getting into your genealogy.
Yeah, I really find comfort and strength in that kind of ancestral research. And I know not everyone does, but for me, it's something that it really helps me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's not easy to find some of that history, your family history, is it? Where,
Especially if you come from like a war-torn family or
yeah.
from, a nomadic family, like some of my Celtic ancestors are. It does get challenging. But again, with these digitizing of records, things have gotten easier to find, which is exciting.
Very exciting. I forgot to ask, what are some simple ways for someone new to witchcraft to incorporate a spell into their magical practice? In your last, I think it's the last chapter of your book, it
Yeah,
talks a little bit about that. So maybe just talk a little bit about how someone new to witchcraft could use one of your
yeah.
spells.
So
Incorporate.
words are powerful, and this is known across religions, where in Genesis the Lord says, "Let there be light," and that's when light happens, when it's spoken into being. In psychology, we know if we say things out loud, the stories we tell ourselves have an enormous effect on our mental health and what we're able to do. And again, in magic spells, words are extremely powerful. Some people are drawn to words when they want to do magic. Some
Mhm.
people aren't. Some people are drawn to other stuff, and that's totally okay too. And I talk about that in that appendix, how to
Yeah.
honor whatever you're drawn to. But yeah, again, it's to my mind, it's really about what you're drawn to. So there are ways to do spells by like writing on pieces of paper and like burying the paper if it's something you want to grow, or burning the paper if it's something you'd like to let go of. Um,
Mhm.
you can begin to write words that you think are beautiful and let them weave themselves into a story about what you see for your future. These incantations are an opportunity to set an intention and pay attention to it.
Mhm.
And we know that that's how we manifest. You set your
Yeah.
intention and then you let the spell be a way that you pay attention and you speak into being what you'd like.
Absolutely. The more you have intention and focus in your spell work, the more you can manifest, the more powerful your witchcraft can be.
Yeah, I believe that I truly believe whatever you put your attention on in your life grows, and whatever you withdraw attention from withers. And this is something I tell people when they're really locked into like a workplace conflict. There's somebody at work who's just your nemesis. The way to not let them ruin your health is really to withdraw their opportunity to draw, to have your attention, right?
Don't give away your power.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask really super quick about your professor. You're a professor of cinematic arts and technology. What is that exactly? Is that like film studies?
No, well, it's filmmaking. I don't teach
Okay.
film studies, which
Okay.
is, I'm a self-taught filmmaker, and I somehow ended up I mean, I made some films, and then I became a professor of cinematic arts about 23 years ago, and I've been at my job for 20 years. Um, Next year, I'm going to be moving into primarily teaching um, botanical classes.
Oh, cool. That's pretty drastic, right?
And yeah, and also teaching what are called materials and methods classes for teachers from who for people who want to teach K through 12. And what
Mhm.
I'll be teaching them is how to incorporate um, outside time and the arts into their instruction. And that's something I did with my NIH grant recently. So I'm really looking forward to carrying that work forward.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to leave a few minutes just for your spell or incantation reciting. But
Yeah.
real quickly for our listeners, what is your website and social media
Oh,
for our listeners so
thank
they can
you.
find out more about you, your books, and all your many magical offerings?
I am so bad at this. Thank you for reminding me to tell people where they can find me. So my first name is Enid, Enid, and my last name is Rice, Ryce. My website is Enid, Enid, Rice, Ryce and then just .com. And my contacts are all there. You can find me on social media, Instagram. You can email me. And then my Substack is called Book of Trees, and that's where I'm writing about this journey. It goes through the Salem witch trials and then back earlier, and now we're jumping forward. So I'd love to interact with your listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's
And
perfect.
oh,
And
I should
yes,
say,
go
sorry,
ahead.
that my books are available wherever books are sold, either in bookstores or on Bookshop, Barnes and Nobles. Amazon has some really good discounts right now. So feel free.
Yes, yeah. And for our listeners, again, we were talking about Enid's new book, Ancient Spells and Incantations, Echoes of Magic Through the Ages and Across Cultures. So thank you so much for inspiring us with your creativity and curiosity and all your beautiful spell work in your newest book. And so I'm going to let you, for the last minute here, do a little reciting of incantation or spell of your choice from your book.
Thank you. And thank you. This has been such a fun conversation. You're a great host. I love this.
Oh, thank
We
you so
covered
much.
so much. It's like really, which is like great for if people are going to listen, give them something to talk about. Okay, so this it's from page 18, and it's Rune to Revere the New Moon. It was originally in Gaelic. It's from Scotland, and it is an incantation to ask at the beginning of the moon cycle for this moon cycle to go well. I'd like to have a good month. New moon, thou art dark now. May thy light soon be lovely to me. May thy path across the sky be smooth. Thou fair moon of seasons, thou great lamp of grace, he who created thee also created me. He who gave thee weight and light gave me life and death and joy. Thou great lamp of grace, thou fair moon of the seasons. So that's the welcoming of the new
Oh,
moon.
thank you. That was beautiful. Blessed be. Very magical.
Thank
Well, again, thank you so much, Enid, for being on the show and inspiring us with your new book about spells and incantations. And I really enjoyed chatting with you and hearing about your descendants of the Salem witchcraft trials. And hey, that sounds like a new book in itself.
Well, thanks. I'll let the publishers know. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I was so excited to meet you.
Yeah, it's been really lovely chatting with you. So until next time, blessed be. Bye bye.